So today we are, like I said, hosting Teaching Math with the new Brainingcamp. We're here to share some of the new features and some of the things that we've been adding to Brainingcamp over the last maybe 6 months or so. And with me is Mark Schmidt and Kara Rinn, and then myself. We all have different roles here, but one of the ones that we all share is helping develop Brainingcamp. So I'm going to let Mark introduce himself, and then and me, and then Kara, then we'll get started. Oh, sorry. Maybe I'll do the agenda first. So the agenda is we're going to do introductions. Then Mark's going to talk to you about some of the features on the website. I'm going to go over some of the new features and functions, and then we're going to try to save Kara some time to show you the new Money app, which was just released maybe a month and a half ago. So that's going to be the agenda. Now we're going to talk to Mark.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Hello, everybody. Again, thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up tonight. My name is Mark Schmidt. I'm the Vice President of Education here at Brainingcamp. I was a middle school math teacher for 14 years. And since I left the classroom about 23 years ago, I think, if I did the math correctly, I've been in the field of either content development or product development. I worked in assessment for a while, pre-Common Core, when states had their own standardized high-stakes tests, and worked with departments of education to not only pull those together, but also review the data. Interesting process, but at that time, I decided to leave that and get into product development. I've actually designed a few math manipulatives along the way as I worked for a supplemental publisher and a hands-on learning company. But I've also been involved in content development for mathematics, anything from K-12 for both supplemental products and core basal products. There's my email at the bottom. Feel free to any questions. Feel free to email with me with any questions, comments, thoughts. That's okay. As a former teacher, I don't mind hearing from you. You're not interrupting anything in my day. So thank you.
All right. Well, then it brings it to me. My name is Ryan Doherty. I'm the Director of Sales at Brainingcamp, but prior to that, I taught elementary school for about 9 years in Ohio and then just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. In that school system outside Charlotte, I became their math coordinator for about 8 years, where I focused mostly on 3rd grade through 5th grade. Did a lot of trainings throughout the state, training with teachers, and especially when Common Core came out, and helping get those teachers familiar with what they were going to be teaching. When I left there about 9 years ago, which is now kind of surprising that that number keeps growing. But when I left, I went and actually worked with Mark at a previous company where I was a salesperson selling physical manipulatives and other supplemental materials. And then I had a little stint with hands-on science as well, but then that led me back here to Brainingcamp. So big believer in hands-on education and getting manipulatives and tools in kids' hands for them to actually see what is happening in the math or the science or whatever they're learning. So my email is there, ryan.doherty@brainingcamp.com. And just like Mark, feel free to send me any questions that you have about the program. If you want to buy the license, obviously I'm the one to contact too. But even if it's just, hey, how do you do something? Let one of us know, and we'll be glad to help. I'll move to Kara.
Hi guys, I'm Kara Rinn. I'm the customer success manager here at Brainingcamp. And before I got to Brainingcamp, I was a teacher, pre-K, kinder, 3rd and 4th grades. Then I was a math, kind of what we call a specialist, which is just kind of like a math coach for both a school K-5 level, and then moved into the district level here. Loved it. But that is where I found Brainingcamp. And I've just learned so much from everybody and all the people that I get to talk to on a daily basis. And it's just, just feeds into the passion of making math visual and making it easy for students to see what's happening. And so Braining Camp's really allowed me to kind of take that on. And so same with Mark and Ryan, we are more than happy to answer your emails. My email is there, kara.reen@brainingcamp.com. We would love for you to email us if you have suggestions. We're a really open company. We love to hear from our teachers. So feel free to email any one of us at any time and we can all help you.
All right.
Mark, you're up.
Yep. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Ryan. I did want to mention, like throughout my career, I've had a great opportunity to meet and learn from a lot of smart and talented people. And I think you're going to see that tonight is no exception. Once we cut Ryan and Kara loose, I think it's going to really be a lot of fun. So quickly, I want to go through just some of the changes we've made on our website. Just want to make sure that folks know where those resources are. So I am logged into Brainingcamp, and up here in this top bar, you will see some of these listings up here. So I am going to click on resources, and that's going to open up this window here. And these are some of the resources we have. So we have tutorial videos on each of our 16, soon to be 17 manipulatives. Soon as you click on one of these, there's a short video that opens up in the player. None of them are more than 3 minutes. So the intent was to give users a quick look into getting started with either Brainingcamp in general, or let's say number lines or fraction circles. So those are there for you to take a look if you want to learn a little bit more about any particular manipulative. All right. Back also on that resource page, Ryan alluded to it earlier. We have all of our, I shouldn't say all, we have our archived webinars that we've had in the past. You can see we've got a variety of topics and variety of presenters. These are available on demand. So if you maybe have a PLC going and you want to learn about teaching math to English learners, you can watch Adrian Mendoza's webinar and learn a little bit more about that. If you're a middle school teacher, Kevin Dykema, Manipulatives in the Middle School, that's an awesome webinar. So those resources are there for you. Also, on the resource page, we have some ready-to-use tasks. Now, these tasks are all already made in the Brainingcamp applications, and they come with teacher notes. So we'll take a quick look. They are searchable by keyword. You can, let's see, decimals, or you can search by grade level. There's kindergarten. Well, let me choose something else so you can see how it changes. There's second grade, or you can even, if you select a grade, and you can select one of the Common Core domains. And you can see there's about 30 per grade. There's 283 for grades K through 8. I'm just going to quickly click on this. What is it? I think it's called Color Me. These are the teacher notes. These are downloadable. I'm not going to take time to go through these because we want to get to Ryan and Kara and some of the more get us in the applications. But you can see you got teacher notes here. Here's the share code that how you can access as well as your students can access. Here's a screenshot of what you're seeing. This is a nice one that's built in color tiles. We give you a launch idea, ways to get it started. There's some questionings as students are working on the task to help you get them working. There is a solution. This one just happens to be see student work, but not all of them are. And we try to address some common student misconceptions. So if you see this, try this. We also have math talks at the end. These are some questions that we provide for you to get that mathematical discourse going. Questions that can help you, kind of pull out the student reasoning and get to what they were thinking about as they were working. All right. So I encourage you to take a look at those as well. We also, if you scroll down on any of the pages, we also have recently started a blog. We are going to move this up into that resource page that I shared earlier, but you click on that blog. We post about 3 to 6 blogs per month. We feature a couple blogs, and here you can see one that Kara wrote this month about the 100 board, how it's not just for K2, but also she gives some examples on how you could use it in 5th grade as well. So those are there for you. They're quick, easy reads. There's some there about using virtual manipulatives, using CRA with virtual manipulatives. So again, I encourage you to take a quick look. All right. Now I'm going to go back to what we call the manipulatives homepage, because Ryan mentioned earlier about feedback and how much we really try to listen to you guys, our users, to figure out what's going to work best for you. What do you need? So quickly, I want to give some examples. I'm going to open up base 10 blocks, and you can see up here, you see this send feedback button. You click on that, you're able to send us feedback. It opens up a Google form. You can provide us some feedback, something that maybe is missing, something you would like to see. But I wanted to share some examples of where we have actually listened to our audience. So when we went to the new look in Brainingcamp, one of the things we eliminated from the old was the place value disks or chips within base 10 blocks. And some of you may know that these are a non-proportional version, and they allow for creating larger numbers so that the cubes don't get too big. So this was something that we took out. We got feedback. Hey, I really liked that option down here in the toolbar of being able to have those non-proportional versions. Also on the XY coordinate plane, I can click on this plane. We got some feedback. Folks wanted to be able to change the scale of the axes. So right up here, once I click on the plane, I can then click on scale. And now this allows me to change the size of the intervals on the x-axis as well as the y-axis. So we wanted to just we want to encourage you to send us feedback if there's things that you really, really need, really want, and that in order to be more effective as you use Brainingcamp. So those were 2 examples where we wanted to share that so that you continue to give us great feedback, because we build these for your use. So I am going to stop sharing, and I believe it is now going over to you, Ryan.
And I was muted and not showing my screen. So here we go. Yeah, so my part of the presentation tonight is to talk about some of the new features and functions. I like that we haven't really gotten into the manipulatives just yet. I'm looking at the chat, people saying, I love these manipulatives and all that stuff. I like that we're showing you that there's more to Brainingcamp than just the manipulatives, right? Yes, we do have in our opinion, the best virtual manipulatives out there. But to go along with that, the stuff that Mark just showed you that is there to help support those teachers and you as a teacher. So some of the new features that we've been working on over the last couple months are here on the screen. I'm going to go through them and actually show them to you, hopefully. If I can switch out of the presentation into the screen easily, I will. But I want to talk about the new settings bar, zoom, vertical fractions, cover tools, hovers, and different map features. So let's see if I can do this without losing everything. All right. So Mark, if you can't see my screen, please let me know so I can get back in there. So one of the things, and this was just a change that was done on yesterday morning, we made this change. And so if you're familiar with Brainingcamp in the new version in this form here, one of the things that you will notice right away has changed is there used to be a settings button down here on the bottom, but we've gotten rid of them. It was hard to find, first off. I mean, it was easy to find the button, but hard to remember, like, oh, I have all these settings that I can do. And when you clicked on it, it took up some of your screen. So to fix that, we put down here, right above the pens and highlighters, we have all your settings readily available to you. So I'm going to switch over here to the fraction work mat, just because we have a couple extra ones here. And I want to show you a couple things with that. Some of our buttons in our settings end up opening a menu, a little quick pop-up menu like this. So do I want these coming out horizontal or vertical? And depending on what your settings is, that's going to affect the output on the screen. Some of them are just simply toggling them on, toggling them off. So if I wanted the grid on, I could click that on. Notice that it highlights it in blue, telling you that it's on. Sometimes you don't want to have any labels. So you have the ability to really quickly set the page however you would like it. Turn the labels on, show this in simplest form, and it will do that for you as well. We do have a third option for a button, and sometimes what happens is a menu pops up. So here in this one, what you can do is select the Cuisinart rod that you want to be whole. It defaults to the orange, 10 units long. That's the default, but maybe I want to do 6th. So I can click on this green one. Notice everything changes, but again, your settings are right there, easy access to how you want your page to work. So every single manipulative, every single page that you have, you should be able to find all your tools right down here. Another thing that we've added since the new version came out is these 3 buttons down here on the bottom. You can now, you used to have just what you could see on the screen, but now you can zoom in if you need to show something a little better, or zoom out to give yourself more space. You also notice when on your screen, you have these handlebars that move left and right to move on your screen, and up and down. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to move this way up here, this one way down over here. You have plenty of space side to side to build multiple representations or multiple problems. Same thing, you can go up very, very high and down very, very low. If you happen to get lost and you have something on the screen, but you're not sure where it is, this little screen icon is a recentering button. And when you click on that, it will zoom out or in, and it will be the best version to get everything on your screen. So, I move these out in a way, I don't want to have those all over the place. So I can move them in closer, hit that button again, and it will zoom in and have the best output for you. So the zoom is a new feature that we have. And teachers are loving that because they're able, like I said, they're able to do multiple things on a page at one time. I saw somebody in the chat talk about vertical fractions. Our features right here, when you in your manipulative tray, if you select the middle section, you have things like text, and you have the vertical fraction and some shapes. What we had was, if I were to type in 1/2 in our text button, we were getting this horizontal fraction, and there's nothing really that we could do about that to fix it. So what we did was we created what we call the vertical fraction button. So you can drag that out onto the screen. You click on it, a number pad pulls up, and you can set your fraction to set your numerator to 3, click your denominator. I want that to be 9ths. And then, so now you can write vertical fractions. And then that can be moved around and put into text or put wherever you want it to be. The other thing that you can do is when you kind of highlight it, you notice down here in the bottom in our settings bar, all the colors that come up. You can select it and change it to any color you want. You can change the size to make it bigger for kids to see, or smaller if you have to hide it in something. But yeah, that's where you're going to be able to do that vertical fraction tool. Another nice, easy thing, if you need to do multiple ones, just copy it, and then you can change that fraction to 5/9. So if you need to make a bunch of them, you don't have to do the numerator and the denominator every single time if you already have one set. The next thing that was on my my list was a cover tool. And this again is found in every single manipulative. I'm just going to switch over to linking cubes to kind of show you a different one. If I wanted to, we'll do a earlier problem. Let's actually turn the groups on. 5 plus what is going to give me 9, right? I have a tool that I can cover up something, and that is found in the third tab or the third section in our manipulative tray. Way down here at the bottom, I have a cover up tool that when I drag that out on the screen can be moved wherever I want. So I could take this, resize it, and now I could ask the kids, 5 plus what is going to give me 9? What is hiding behind that cover tool? And then you or the kids can click on the eye and it will vanish and you can see what is behind that number. Teachers have been using this to hide answers, hide questions. I saw one teacher do a matching activity, almost like a, I can't think of the name of the game, but where you have to like turn over the cards and see if you made a match, right? I know there's a name for it. I can't come up with it right now, but really nice tool to have. Teachers are real creative in how they want to use that. Maybe, what are multiple ways to make 9? So it can be resized. It can even be locked into place. And once it's locked, kids won't be able to move it, but they will be able to click on the eye and see what is behind it. Concentration. Thank you. Memory care. Yeah, my memory was terrible. So, so 2 more things I want to share with you. And I think the best one to do that in is going to be base 10 blocks. And then I'm going to come over to the comparing mat. So if you've never seen Brainingcamp, you just saw there that I switched the background. We call these in workspaces. And every manipulative has multiple workspaces. And you can add this background or this workspace if you want there. And notice as you kind of get to the edges, it starts to turn blue. That's there to let you know that, hey, you can click this and you can interact with it just like some of the manipulatives. So if I click on here, my tools pop up that allow me to do things like turn off the label, turn it back on, maybe add divisions in here so I could have multiple spaces. This one here turns on and off the equal sign. So it's just trying to let you know that as you kind of hover over here that, hey, you can do something, you can interact with this one. Down at the bottom here, when you hover over this one, it hovers blue again. I can turn that on and off. So maybe I wanted to do a problem where my kids are comparing which number is bigger. Is it 2 10s or 2 100s? And I don't want them to see that. If this was on, it automatically changes to help the kids. And not only does it change the numbers, but it changes the greater than, less than sign. So this might be something you don't want to have on. You can just easily click inside there, shut it off, have the kids use the text or the pen to write their answers in, or they can, tell you what it is, and then they can click on it to show you that, 200 is greater than 20. The other one, clear that. The other thing too, when you come to these mats, and I showed you the zoom, and I showed you that you have all this space. So if I wanted to do multiple multiple problems of this comparing, I can adjust the size of this mat to get something that's a little more reasonable. I'm going to get it down to right about there. Then I'm going to copy it and move that one over to the side. Then I'm going to just click and drag over everything, copy both of those, and move it down. Now, it doesn't look like, my space is all over the place, but I can use that recentering button. And now on the page, I can have 4 comparing problems for my kids to solve. I can come in here, turn that all on and off if I want it to be. I could say, hey, make this one equal. I could say, make another one unequal, right? So you can have multiple pages. I've seen some that have 8, 9 problems on the page. And then if I even wanted to, I could slide side to side and have kids do, a lot of problems on this same one. So, all right, that is my part. I'm going to check the chat. Anything that we need to get to, Kara, Mark, have you seen anything pop up?
The only thing that's, if you could show accounts really quick, if you just click on accounts to create a teacher or a student account. So
Sure.
if you want to just kind of just real quickly show, click on accounts.
Yep. So what's going to happen if you're new to Brainingcamp and you got your trial, I did say at the beginning that this is for you and your students. So to add students, what you want to do is come up here when you sign in, come up to the accounts button, and it's going to say students. You need to select that, add an account, and then what we like to do here is you don't need an account for every one of your kids. You make one generic one. You give up a username, BC 2023. Your password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like my luggage. And when I hit create, now I have this username BC 2023, password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any student in your classroom who uses that can get enter Brainingcamp, and as long as they're in your classroom, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to delete it, so if you want to use it, you can. But yeah, one password for all your kids. If you're a middle school teacher, you teach multiple classes, one password, all your kids. Doesn't matter how many you have, 30, 100, or 3.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
That's the one that I kind of was popping up a couple of times that I thought maybe you could show very quickly.
Yep. All right. Well, Kara's going to show you money.
So when we developed money, we thought about money, we've been asked for money for a long time. We were looking at the standards, and the reason I put this one on the screen is I wanted to look at the Common Core standard, but there's only really one in the Common Core, which is a second grade one. And then we have Texas has, which is where I'm from, we have kinder, first, second, and third. And the reason I kind of popped it up there is if you're not really sure to start in kinder or first grade, these are kind of where we begin here in Texas. I know New Jersey has some, and Vermont, and everybody has a couple of different ways to do it. So you just follow your standards. But this is kind of just to give you an idea of where we were when we were developing and thinking about all the things that you can do with the Money app. I'm going to share screen now. Okay, so now when you come in, you have Brainingcamp, we have our wonderful manipulatives, and we have this new fancy one where it says new across the top. This is one of our new applications. And so again, we would love feedback on it. If you come across something, you just click this little send feedback button. But when you enter, you can see that we have the dollar, the half dollar, the quarter, the dime, and the nickel and the penny. And to get them onto the screen, just like anything else, you would just drag them on just like this. And now I have them all here onto the screen. When you click on them, each time you click, just like anything else, you'll have a different selection options that you can choose from. I can copy this, I can delete it, I can flip it. So if you want to see the back side of the coin, or flip it back. And then we have the really cool relationship building piece, right? So I want to exchange this and I want to see how many pennies are in a quarter. So all I would have to do is exchange for penny, and it will show me the amount of number of pennies that I can have. If I group select, and what I did there was I took my mouse and kind of just clicked outside to group select them all. I'm going to exchange it I'm going to bring it back to a quarter. So my students are able to see that relationship, that 1 quarter is 25 pennies. If I go to dime, for instance, it will give me 2 dimes and a nickel. So just, there's no way we can get 3 dimes in 1 quarter. So we just do the 2, the highest one, and then the next one available. That will make 25 cents. So again, that's kind of that relationship building piece that you're able to do here. I really love it. So if I'm going to just kind of scroll over, just like you can do if I want to talk about, here's the dollar. And let's say I want to see the dollar in So I'm going to bring out another dollar. I'm talking to my kids about what can that be? What does this look like? So now I know that a dollar is 4 quarters. I know that a dollar is 10 dimes, and so forth and so on. And they're being able to see kind of all these relationships all kind of under here. I could use this, I could print this off as a, and then I'm going to put the money or the 100 even over here, because when I do, there will be 100 pennies. And so I want them to be able to be all on screen. I could print this off as a, just, copy paste it, throw it onto a Word doc or a Google doc, print it off. And now my students have an anchor chart that they're able to put into their journals. So that's just kind of the one thing that I loved about it, that I was able to I could right click, copy image and place it where I wanted it to. And now I have this really great tool there. And so just like in other applications, we have lots of different workspaces to use. When you click on workspace, you can see we have 4 different ones. So let's go to the part whole mat. And kind of what Ryan was telling you earlier, now you can see that there's this hover there, which means it's clickable. So if I want to click here, and let's just say in this case, I want to turn these labels off. And I want to drag this down and make it a little bit smaller. I saw someone post in the chat that they do lots of word problems with money. So we kind of could go there. We could say, if we wanted to start kind of more kinder and more counting, we could say there are 6 dimes and 5 nickels. Oops. On Mr. Guido's desk. How many coins does he have altogether? So this really is just about counting. So I wrote that. I can now, again, with my text feature, drag this over. I can change the color and maybe make it bold. And then I can say, okay, students, I want you to put 6 in 1. And so if I click, I can rapidly add them to the screen. And then same with nickels. I have 5 nickels. And we can talk about how many coins we have together. This would just be a counting piece, right? Like I'm just counting the number of coins. But if I want to use this with currency and I want to talk about how much the amount I have, I could simply just make this a copy and bring it over here. And this time I'm going to make a copy and bring this here. And this time I want to say, how much money does Mr. Guido have? Together. So now I can, again, I turned the labels off and I did that for a reason, but now I can toggle my labels back on. And as you can see, the kind of the default is in cents. So I have 6 dimes and 5 nickels. And that gives me 60 and 25. And if I bring them up and I place them together, there's a couple ways you could do it. Oops, got away from me there. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes it got away from me. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm gonna grab these, bring them up. I can see that's 85 cents. If I want to show this not in cents, let's just say the question was, let's do 8 nickels. Or let's do 9 since we want to go over $1, 105 cents. How can I change this? So once I come down here, again, our settings menu has moved to the bottom. So you're able to change the labels from cents to dollars. And so that's something that if you want to show your students the dollar symbol and what it looks like in the dollars and not cents and kind of those kind of things, you're able to do so. So that is, and if I want this all on one screen, again, I press zoom to fit and it fits nicely all together. We did have a lot of people. I'm going to come back to the basic workspace and I'm going to clear all. I did want to show you that you can change the currency. So down here in your settings menu, if you click on currency, we do have Canadian money at the time. If there is a way that you would like to see a different view of that, you're able to click, or if you would like a different form of currency, send feedback, let us know kind of what you were thinking. And then we have the United States again. So that's where you can switch your currency to Canadian money. At the moment, we have Canadian and United States. But if there's something else that you would like to see, just let us know. In the comparing work mat, again, we have, this is kind of what you would do in a normal day with your money. We want to talk about who has more. So maybe I have $3. And see, you can see this coming up here. If I don't want it to show, I can turn this off. So if I don't want the amount to show, I want the students to discover it on their own. Let's just say I have $3.35 or maybe like 36 cents. And on this side, I have $3 and 51 cents. As you can see, I can turn this back on and it'll show me what I have, but I can also turn these labels all off if I want my students to do their thinking, or maybe they can select it later to kind of discover what would come next. So be sure that you are able, when you are in Brainingcamp, click on things and kind of see what's available. The options here would be to turn the labels all the way off. I can also lock it. So that means like I'm not going to be able to move it, right? So if I have a task that I want to do, but I don't want my students to be able to move it, I'm able to lock. And I want my labels back on, or maybe I want them to fill out the labels themselves. I want to leave the boxes, but they insert the label with either the text feature or our pen tools. So our pen tools here, I can now, as you can see, it doesn't pop up over here anymore. It does come down here, and I can change how big or the color, and I can write how much money I have. So I can do this, and then I can also erase it and see if I was correct. And so I can kind of, is there an unequal sign? We do not have an unequal sign. But those are all great suggestions, and that send feedback button right here, you can add that. So if I wanted to make this equal, you can see the equal sign. I would just add the dime here. So now you can see that equal sign. When you're here, again, comparison mat, I can change my labels into cents as well. So if I am dealing with just the cents piece, you're able to do that. When you click on workspace, let's get to the grid one. It's one of my favorites. Grid pieces represent the values of the coins and the dollar bill using an area model in which about 1 square unit is going to equal 1 penny. So if you drag out the 1 penny, you can see this kind of square box around it. And the money grid pieces really help us build these understandings, like with this common currency. But it also helps us, we can use it to model and compute with fractions and decimals and so many other things. So just to kind of bring this out, you have the dollar. And so now I can see that if I filled this in, that's 1/100th of $1. In the quarter, I have, 4 quarters can make $1. And because we wanted it to be an area model, that's why it looks like this. You also have the dime. Again, once I click on this, if I don't want it in the horizontal way, I'd like it to be vertical. Oh, I just flipped it. Again, you can flip it anywhere to show the back of the coin, but I can rotate it in this way. So now I have my 10 and my nickel, my 5. So you can kind of compare here and show those students what the grid and what these values represent when you're thinking about something that they use so often. So when I come back here again, if I'd like to see it all on one I'm going to delete this penny just so it looks prettier. But now I can kind of see all of these currencies happening at one time. I can see their relationships and how they build on one another. If I would like to maybe talk about decimals more, I could just delete this and we can talk about and delete this one. And we come here, we could say, this is my one. So I'm going to use my text. This is my one whole. So I could say one. I want to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to use this as my decimal. I'm going to make it small. Oops. It's kind of a funny looking decimal, but you can play with it to make it look a little bit prettier. I do want to fill this in, and we can talk about after the decimal, we have a tenth and what that looks like and what that represents, and then also the hundredth. So this is kind of a cool way to kind of represent that money in those decimals and begin to talking about what those decimals represent and what they look like. And I got this from the text feature spot. You can always add the number line, and then I always just turn the labels off if we're counting money or if we're counting up. You know, if I have, something to get to. So when you are kind of in all of this, I did want to show you, so I've showed you each workspace now. We've gone to the basic, the part whole. We've kind of talked about each one of them. And I put together this share code. And so if you come back to Brainingcamp, so in Brainingcamp, you're also able to create pre-made tasks. You, just like we have pre-made tasks, but if you want to create them, I'm going to show you how to do that. You just enter this into the share code. So I did use my daughter's names in here, just like you would use your students' names to get their attention, right? When they're in the class, make them feel a little special. So I'm putting 8 characters here and I'm pressing go. So what I kind of did was just show each one of those workspaces and kind of how it could look when I have pre-planned it and done it a little bit, made it a little bit nicer. I just used the shape features to make the purse. Lainey had some money in her purse. How much did she have? Once the student can, they can bring this out, or if it's locked, so I can't touch it, I could bring it out myself and say, okay, I have $1 and 2 quarters. I have 3 dimes. So I'm just kind of bringing this out and organizing them in a way that makes sense to me and how best I can count them, right? I always go from biggest to smallest. So I made it using the shape features. So if you're here, good question. And I'm just going to kind of drag this over just to show you very quickly. You go to make the tasks however you want to. You just go to an open screen and you just start adding things. I just grabbed a square here or a shape. I was able to fill it in, maybe add the line. So here's my outer circle or outer purse. And then I used just this and kind of made it like a purse handle. And then I kind of did the line a little bit thicker. And what I did here, oops, sorry. I don't want the fill here. But I can send this to the back and so that you don't see it. So here I made a blue purse. You can, once you become familiar with Brainingcamp and you get a little bit more used to the tools, you can create so much. So like I said, take a look at the tasks that we already have created. It'll give you some ideas of what could be created with the tasks. So here I could say that I have $1, 50, 60, 70, 80, 85, 86, 87. So I have $1.87. So that's how much Lainey has in her purse. Now, you're asking if I create the share code, let's just say I want my students want to share this back with me now. they can click share. This is the same way you would create the original share code. Every time you click share code or share, it's going to take a snap of the image that's on the screen. So if I click create share code and click it, it's going to come up with either a link or a code. If I copy this code and I come place it here, just to give you an idea, you'll be able to see. So it allowed me to keep this on here. That's what I made earlier. But you can see now that I have $1.87, and this was what the student responded. You can also just copy the image, and they can place that image on a Seesaw document, a Google document, a Google slide, things like that, so that they can share it back with you in a more organized manner. But I wanted to tell you, if you create the share code, you can click any workspace. It will save the whole workspace. So now it says Lainey wants to buy a kid's meal that cost $4.99. How much more money does Lainey need? So here's what she has. She has $1.87. She needs a total of $4.99. So I'm placing this in my mat. And this is where I told you, like, sometimes I like to use the number line. I might start out with here, just, $1.87. And I'm going to start counting by like a whole dollar. So one more dollar would be $2.87. And if you have time and you want to make it neater, the text box would be for you. Let's do $3.80. Another dollar would be $3.87. And another dollar would be $4.87. So we're getting closer. I can't go to another dollar. And then you can say what would get me closer, things like that. And you will be able to, so if I do another, what would be the best one? I could count by fives. I could count by tens. I can go a whole nother 10 cents to $4.97. And then I only need $4.97, $4.98, $4.99. These are both 1 penny. So I need $3.12. So that's kind of just an idea of how to use the number line with this all. Again, you might want to make it a little bit nicer by using a text feature box. But now I have the answer here. I can click on Workspace, comparing. If Lainey had $1.87 and Lindley had $1.67, who had more? Again, the students can come here and say, okay, Lainey, so I have Lainey labeled already down here for them. One, and then I could do 50 cents piece, but we don't use that too much. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with quarters. So I have $1.87 for Lainey, and Lindley has $1.67. And so now you can kind of talk about how those compare. I can turn this off. We can talk about how I can line my numbers up and things like that. Can you show us how to change the share code? So in order to change the share code, all you have to do is press share and share code, and it will create a new one. So if there's anything that you would like to change, like you want to use this same one, but you want to change the numbers or the names, right, to match the kids in your classroom, or you want to change the amounts, all you have to do is click share and share code, and it will create a whole new one. And then you would just save that one. Did I answer your question? I hope so. And then the grid workspace, how much more money does Lainey need to have $2? It's all based on that first question, was how much did she have? So I kind of just said, like, if we use that $1.87, and you could do that. You cannot I can't change the share code to something like task 2 or task 3. It creates an 8-digit share code based on the computer's smart system, I guess you could say. And so they will it will change every time you press share and share code. It's going to come up with a new one. So no matter how many times you do that, So just make sure if you do make changes to something that you have saved a share code. Like if you like this piece, but you're going to use this one as your next example, save them both. I've done that before too, where I want to show a different example with the same kind of idea. So I just change a few numbers, and that could be very helpful as well. So in the Money app, is there any questions that I have not got to or any ideas that you did not see? We talked about currency. We talked about the labels. We talked about share codes and how to create them. I'm actually going to throw the one that I created in the chat so that you're able to kind of, oh, that's not it. Well, that was one of them, but this is the one, the original one I created. So those are both share codes that you can adjust, and then they can send it to the kids. So that is basically all of my part.